Wild. 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 Wild Shots, coming soon from the Jackson Brothers. Stay tuned immediately following Shoebox Dream for scenes from other exciting Jackson Brothers drag racing videos. If you would like to receive information from the Jackson Brothers about their new movies and apparel, call or write the Jackson Brothers and ask for our latest brochure. We'll be happy to send you one free of charge. And now, Jackson Brothers are proud to present Shoebox Dream. Shoebox Dream is sponsored by NOS, Nitrous Oxide Systems, manufacturers of safe and reliable nitrous oxide kits for most street and strip applications. The same state-of-the-art technology employed by the cars in this program is used in all NOS street and strip systems. Whether carbureted or fuel-injected, stock or modified, NOS is the only way to thunder. Send for a free brochure on what you should know about nitrous oxide. Also brought to you by Dan Chuck Manufacturing, the world's largest manufacturer of high-quality reproduction parts for 1955, 56, and 57 Chevrolets. For a complete listing of parts, send $4 for the latest catalog to Dan Chuck Manufacturing Incorporated. Shoebox Dream is also brought to you by Ron Harding Moving Service Incorporated. For all your moving and storage needs, call Ron Harding Moving Service. And by Cars Incorporated, the world's oldest and largest manufacturer of 1955 through 1972 Chevrolet original interiors, sheet metal, and parts. Sponsors of Charles Carpenter's world's fastest 55 Chevy. For a free catalog, call Cars Incorporated at 1-800-521-2194.
In the early days of drag racing, young men dreamed of being the fastest. They worked, they built, and they raced, constantly pushing the limits and breaking the records, striving to be the world's most powerful shoebox car. Together they shared one thing, the dream to be the best. Jackson Brothers present Shoebox Dream. Featuring Charles Carpenter, Thundercraft, Temptation, Wayne Torkelson and Son, Folsom Flash, Wapadoo, and Ron Harding Jr. With special appearances by Mega Ford, Lamar Walden 62 Chevy, Pristine, Kirk Coons, and Thornhill Racing. With special guest Tom the Mongoose McEwen, owner and driver of the world's quickest and fastest 57 Chevrolet. The 55 Chevrolet, long revered as a favorite in the battle over the quarter mile, has become one of the major attractions at today's drag racing events. It has long been the dream of many a young man to own a really fast car, and whether it was cruising or racing, a typical male from the 50s might have realized his fantasy from behind the wheel of a 55 Chevy. We asked Dave Riolo, driver of the 55 Chevy Temptation, why they call these cars Shoebox.
Because the cars are basically designed like a square box, and there's been a lot of names given it. We gave them those names back 20 years ago when we first had them because they're a square unit and they're more like a 4x8 sheet of plywood trying to run in the north wind. So it's pretty tough to get them down the racetrack sometime. And then they came up with the shoebox thing, which is kind of a neat name for the cars.
In 1986, at Baylands Raceway in Fremont, California, Dave Riolo attempts to set the world's record for the fastest 55 Chevrolet in the quarter mile.
Dave Riolo's been in drag racing for 15 years. What we want to see, folks, is the first ever 55 Shoebox Chevrolet to run the quarter mile in 7 seconds. He gets over the center just a little bit through the eyes at 794. 794 with a 7 and 168.85 miles per hour.
After that wild ride, Chris Alston helps Riolo adjust his transmission for another try at the world record.
Station 55 Chevrolet. Won't do it on that run. We'll stand out of the gate. That puts an end to that.
It's a real 55 Chevrolet. It's an all-steel body, full-size car. We don't know just exactly how far we can go. The more we work on the car, the more stable it becomes. But I figure somewhere in the 180s is going to be our limit, simply because of the size of the car.
1452. This is Dave Riolo out of Sacramento, California. Boy, Riolo's all over the drag strip. He has the backpedaling down the quarter mile. That is one stop 55 Chevrolet. Backpedaling the car, folks. He's shut her down with a 910.
Gassing up for another pass, Riolo is determined to control the car and go straight.
Boy, it's good. It's all over the track and half track. He stays in it through the eyes. 818, and he backpedaled the car. At
After dialing in for track conditions, Dave makes one last try. The rise in popularity of the shoebox car in the 80s is not limited to the 55 Chevrolet. Jim Bryant's Thundercraft is a fiberglass replica of a classic 57 Chevy and is one of the country's hottest shoebox cars. We join the Thundercraft team as they prepare for their match race with Dave Riolo's Temptation.
Backing out, Hot Rod, Drag Racing Magazine. Here to watch these shoebox cars today. What do you think, Pat?
Well, I think this has been a long time coming to get this car out here on the West Coast. It's kind of like Garlett's coming out to race Christmas, as far as I'm concerned.
It's great.
Except it's a new generation, and I think fans are going to come out in droves tomorrow to
we sure hope
see
so.
the race.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Get on the track out there.
The starting line's pretty good, but down about 2/3 track is where it gets kind of loose. And
There's a dip about the 8 mile
right
mark.
lane, there's a dip over there, and you've got to be real careful. It's in the right side. And
Man, you have to see some of these racetracks we run down south.
I have.
You know, they're about as
Especially the
wide.
ones with the trees down the side.
Yeah. They don't have
And
guardrails.
the drainage ditch goes
Yeah.
down like this.
They don't have guardrail. They got telephone posts cut off about that high. You know? About this far apart.
Yeah. I think who made your body?
Jim, the boy that owns the car.
Oh,
See, he
really?
owns boat business.
Huh.
Builds pleasure boats.
Uh-huh.
And as a matter of fact, he's starting a new body. We'll have a new car next year.
Good. New chassis and everything?
Yeah.
What about that nitrous oxide? How much more horsepower does that give you?
And you go from, like 750s to 720s, 30s, 755, yeah.
Pretty good.
cheap horsepower. Good cheap horsepower.
Is that right?
Right, yeah.
Well, how many cubic inch displacement is it?
This motor's 600.
Over 600.
Yeah. No, it is 600. Yeah. This one. They got a 572 in the trailer.
I said, wow, those are biggies.
Yeah.
Big block Chevys.
Right, yeah.
And you run
Cast iron blocks, yeah.
cast iron blocks?
Right, sure are.
What kind of carburation?
But it's the Dominator carburetors with handmade intake. Matter of fact, the boy out here on the West Coast made the intake.
What's his name?
Alan Johnson.
Yeah.
He did this intake, fixed the head for it.
The car looks pretty strong. Got a lot of steel in that frame. I mean, that roll part. Huh?
Yeah, the car's safe. The chassis works real good. It's sturdy, plenty sturdy.
It's got to be safe for 200-mile-an-hour pass.
He's a star now. He's got autographs.
We made him famous.
Hollywood will be after him pretty soon. Hope not. Be hurt for certain.
During the bikini contest before their first match race, track announcer Tad Pollock introduced the Thundercraft crew to some real California scenery. Or should we say the scenery was exposed to the Thundercraft crew?
What we're going to do is these two individuals have never been west of the Mississippi. They've never been in the state of California. Gentlemen, these are California ladies.
Well, it looks like these fans get more than just an autograph from driver Rob Vandergriff.
Trust me, Dave, this is a strategy move for the guys from the north. I've got him melted now. If you don't get it, we got a real problem. I got him all shook up. They have never been where the air is so good to do a horse car. Austin chassis prepared sensation. The 55 is going to go up against the most incredible looking 57 Chevrolet we have ever seen on the West Coast. Roseville, California, sponsor Chevrolet dealership. Center out of Sacramento. They call it and the driver, this is the world's quickest and fastest 57 Chevrolet against the world's quickest and fastest 55 Chevrolet of Gabriola. Our family developed Austin engineering chassis car on the tower side for Gabriola.
Thundercraft set a new West Coast shoebox record with an elapsed time of 7:59 and went on to win the other match races.
Good pass, shook the tires real hard in the third gear. Yeah, but other than that, it's a straight pass. Yeah, smooth. It's a good track. I thought the track would be a lot worse than it was.
Well, you got the better side. The other guy.
Yeah. It was hooked. It looked good though. Third gear, I thought it was a hell of a pass. Full third gear, shook the tires real hard, lifted the barrel in, just let it rip. I shut off way early. I wasn't sure how long the track was at the end, and I was afraid. Just a lot lower than what they told me.
Yeah, that's good. It's fantastic.
So there's plenty of 170 mile an hour. I shut it off way early.
Dave, what happened on that 813 run?
Oh, it just shook real bad when we put it in third gear. Just violent tire shake.
Yeah. You had to shut down
Had to shut it off.
Shut her down.
Dave Riolo came back in 1987 to dominate West Coast action with ETs in the 760s at around 185 miles per hour. We then took our camera to the camp of the world's fastest 55 Thunderbird, a blown door slammer, Wayne Torkelson and Son. This car has undergone many changes since its first race in 1969. Hood scoops, wider tires, more horsepower, sponsors, and a variety of paint jobs. Its biggest increase in ET and speed came when the car was fitted with a supercharged big block motor. We talked to Wayne Torkelson and his son about this incredible T-Bird.
That's an awesome looking engine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Describe that engine to us. What is that?
It's based on a Ford 429, but it's made by a young man by the name of Alan Root.
How many cubic inches?
500 inches.
Blown supercharged.
Yeah, 871, 8-to-1 compression. The crew chief over there is the one you need to talk to. He's the boss.
So you're the crew chief, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
What's your name?
Wayne?
Wayne? Are you Wayne Jr.?
Yeah.
Is that right? Well, I was out there watching your dad in the 60s race. Vacaville and Lodi. And
I wasn't even born yet.
Well, how old are you, Wayne?
23.
23? Now, what is your job on this car? What all do you do?
Overall maintenance.
Overall. Do you tear the engine apart, too, and go
Yeah,
through?
everything and anything. Anything that's wrong, take care of it.
That's great. The car's beautiful.
Thank you.
We mounted our camera in Wayne's car on this match race win over the Wapadoo 57 Chevy.
Squirrely out there?
Yeah, mid-track on, it's very slippery. You gotta have a real light foot.
You able to get the bugs worked out of it?
I believe so. We're gonna make a change in the bars in the back and see if we can get a little more bite down the track. Ran 133 miles an hour. Car that goes 185, so that should tell you something.
Torkelson adjusts the valves prior to winning this next match race against Ron Harding Jr.
You hook it up pretty good now, Wayne?
Still awful slippery. Awful slippery. Left pretty good and low, and I about rolled the car over in second gear. And I think third, it got away from me a little bit. So we settled it down, put it in high, and then drove it on through.
Well, both 750s.
Sideways, but you know.
Both run 750s. At least it's kind of somewhat consistent.
Yeah, pretty consistent. That's right.
It's up in your star.
Yeah.
Torkelson suits up and straps in at Sacramento Raceway, Sacramento, California. He wins this next match race over Leroy and Barney Filson's Mighty Mouse Camaro. With a world record time of 7:14 and a speed of over 194 miles per hour, we want to show you that run again from Wayne's point of view. Folsom Flash is one of the longest running and most popular shoebox 55s in the country. As with all these hot shoebox race cars, parachutes are a vital part of drag racing. Taking the proper care in packing the chute can mean the difference between a good race and a last race.
Loading her down with talcum powder, huh? Yeah.
Using talcum powder is just one aspect of making sure the driver's lifeline is deployed when the car is moving at over 190 miles per hour.
Brought to you by Andy Bridgeon, Big Covered Speed Marine. Bracket 1, would you suit up, please? The cone of gold.
Owned by Bob and Dixie Bunker, this car served double duty in 1961 as a family car and bracket racer. Today, Bunker's Beast still has the original metal body.
Hello, Bob. How you doing? Okay. Tower side just blazing the tires. An incredible 20.71, 94.43 miles per hour. And it's on 60.32 miles per hour on the tower side. All right, muscle car freaks, the 55 Chevrolet. Out of Folsom, California, this is Bob and Dixie Bunker. They're sponsored by Lund Chevrolet, Webster's Industry, Todd County Auto World out of Sacramento, California, and the Castro Oil people. 541 cubic inches of big block Chevrolet blown and injected in this awesome looking 55.
It's the classic match race, Ford against Chevy, Torkelson against Bunker. Mickelson won this match race, Bunker decided if he was to stay competitive, he must build a car that would run in the sevens. We talked with Bob about how he built his new Shoebox car.
Yeah, actually, it's not a new car. It's a new chassis and new suspension. Same old body is what it amounts to. It's been chopped 3.5 inches. It's been channeled. It's not 2.5, but what it is, the rocker panel's gone on the bottom of the vehicle. It's all 4130 chromoly chassis. Special Alston design. A lot of things he's never tried before, like the X member through the center of the cage. It's also got a stabilizer on the back to try and take some of the roll out of the vehicle once you get fire down the strip. It's kind of a combination funny car, pro stock, shoebox racer, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of things we incorporated into this car that a lot of other ones are running. So it's going to work pretty good, I feel.
Which motor combination are you running with this one? It's
the same combination I ran last year. It's a Donovan block, 4.5 by 4.25. It's 541 inches. On gas, 1471. Enderley injection. It's got a Pete Jackson barrel valve on it, and Bill Miller rods and pistons, crane cam.
And what kind of body do you have on here?
It's a 55-210 originally. It's the same one I've had since 1961. So it's been around a few years, had a few laps on it.
It's a metal body. How much of it's metal, Bob?
Yeah, everything except the deck lid and the hood. They're glass. They've been changed so drastically that we had to go to glass pieces on that to keep up with the changes. This is Chris Alston from the Chassis Works. He's the design engineer behind the chassis and a lot of body modifications that were done on this vehicle. And
the biggest change we made is we took 3 inches out of the roof. Then we moved this part of the quarter panel out 2 or 3 inches. If you look down the side, it's really noticeable. We moved the window strip back 3 or 4 inches and cut this part of the car way down. And we cut about 5 inches off the deck lid to get kind of a fastback window effect, mostly for aerodynamics and for the tire clearance. The car is under 49 inches tall when it sits on the ground, so it's very low for this car.
We're running the beadlock wheel, 16 inch. It's got 34.5, 17, 16 funny car tires off. They'll be funny is what they are, so that's the reason for the large size tubs and some of the extensive modifications in the back here. This is basically the same combination I had in the old vehicle. It worked good, got the weight back where it was needed. Dual batteries, it's got a Scirocco radiator, and it's got a fan and a shroud underneath that pulls down through. You notice on the deck lid, it's got 3 holes underneath the wing to pull air in through it. It's sealed pretty tight around the outside. It's got combination water tank and surge tank on the left rear quarter over there. Electric pump that circulates the water up through the engine and goes through the frame rails, by the way, and the chassis itself. Comes up back the other side and goes back into the radiator and down through the surge tank again. It's pretty efficient. Surprising how well it does work. This apparatus across the back is a weight bar. It's got a screw-on cap on the back side here. It's bolted securely in the chassis. And we fill it full of lead shot. There's 70 pounds in it right now. It also has one on the front, and you can balance the vehicle out that way for a different track condition.
How much does the car weigh?
It's, if I have the weight bars in it, which there's a 70-pounder in the rear, and a 40-pounder in the front, it's 25.58, excluding my weight, of course.
And how much lighter is it than the old car?
I'd say it's around 300, 325, something right in that area.
In 1988, Bob's first test runs on his newly rebuilt Shoebox Chevy were made at Sacramento Raceway.
Was that your first full pass, Bob?
Yeah, well, that wasn't even a full pass. It was about 7/8, I'd say, but point A to point B anyway.
Looks like a few bugs to work out.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, it's a little bit fat, and I want to make sure the parachute and everything was working right.
Bunker's efforts to be more competitive in the shoebox wars paid off with a win over Schroeder & Company's nitrous-powered Vet. This Radical 55 is now the newest member of the low 7-second bracket.
Some people dream of owning a classic 55 Chevrolet. For Gary West, it's more than a dream. It's a passion, a thrill that's like no other. Pushing your dreams to the limit. A feeling of power, control, and speed. For Gary, racing his car is living his dream. This time, Gary lived his nightmare. Gary West is okay, but now his shoebox is just a dream.
And now let's hear it for a brave cameraman that took a ride in an 8-second shoebox. Charles Carpenter and the world's fastest 55 Chevrolet.
Boy, what a bizarre story that is. What coming up, race fans, is by far the most popular sportsman machine ever created.
Such good luck that time. We had some tire shake trouble. Lost traction between the gears. Couldn't quite run our dial in.
Still the fastest 55?
We're still the fastest
55 and more.
Let's follow Charles Carpenter to several East Coast and Southern tracks for some of the hottest shoebox and top sportsman racing in the country.
In the fifth place, on the 1,000 card, on the 1,000 card, the fifth, we got some no-shows. We've got 1, 2, straight lane 1 and 2. Gentlemen, you're not there. That's
Thundercraft's domination of shoebox racing in 1987 forced Charles Carpenter to radically change his 55 Chevy. Moving to an all-fiberglass body, a pro stock chassis, and bigger engine, Carpenter was ready to take on all the cars the '88 season had to offer. Lamar Walden's 62 Chevy, the world's fastest 409, is a 5/8 scale fiberglass replica of a 1962 Chevrolet. Norm Wisner's beautifully prepared 57 Ford Fairlane, Mega Ford, was one of the many challengers Carpenter had to deal with. This 7-second, 190-mile-per-hour shoebox carries with it the hopes and dreams of many a Ford fan. Racing on a 1/8 mile track at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Mega Ford keeps the dream alive. Wisner's 1/8 mile times are some of the fastest in the country. Many drag strips today are converting to 1/8 mile, like this track in Savannah, Georgia. With the short length of the strip and the extremely high speeds of the cars, the fans are always treated to a fantastic show. Rob Vandegrift continues to win on the match race circuit. In the coming year, sponsored by Soft Seal, he'll be challenged by the likes of Christine. Shoebox Match Racing contains a variety of cars, from the 50s to the 80s. The pit crew of Jeff Littleton's Mr. Shoebox 57 Chevy shot this footage as they followed Jeff from track to track. Before Jeff launches, he purges the lines of nitrous oxide gas and brings forth pure liquid nitrous. This car is injected and runs on a mixture of alcohol and nitrous oxide. In 1988, we followed Charles Carpenter on his first visit to California for the Super Chevy Sunday meet at Sears Point Raceway. We talked with Charles about his trip to the West Coast.
Well, how do you like it when you're in California?
I like California. It's going to be hard to go back to North Carolina.
I hear you hold the world record for an ATV in speed. What is that?
Right now it's at 727, 2017.
201 miles an hour?
That's right.
What gets you down there? What kind of engine?
The engine in the car right now is a 615 cubic inch big block Chevrolet. We've got the Brodix Pontiac cylinder heads on it. 727. And which we're using NOS. And between that, we did some spoiler changes and some chassis adjustments on the car, and it's picked it up where we went to quicker times.
Is that nitrous oxide that you're running?
That's right.
NOS system?
NOS.
Is that hard on the engine?
If used right, it's not really. You go into it, you cannot even see anything different from a normal race engine. It really works great. It's the best horsepower you can put on the engine.
Yeah, I noticed you chopped the top, too. How many inches did you cut the top of the car?
The roof has 4 inches out of it. The car has been sectioned. It has 6 inches out of the wheelbase. There's 6 inches out of the width of the car, and then the body's actually raked on the chassis.
Is this a stock chassis or is it a roll cage in here?
This is a complete round tube chromoly chassis. It's more or less a pro stock car with a longer wheelbase.
What is the wheelbase of this car?
It's on 108 right now.
Is that stock?
No, stock one is at 114.
Carpenter took the first round of match race action against the 17-year-old Ron Harding Jr. in his 57 Chevrolet. against Ron Harding Jr., Charles Carpenter exploded the transmission on the line and had to be towed back to the pits. Carpenter repaired the Lenco 4-speed transmission in time for the next round. But then Harding had engine problems, so Charles went on to make an exhibition run.
Jackson Brothers cameras all set up in Charlie Carpenter's car. Charlie Carpenter's a tough guy. This guy eats nails for lunch.
Does Charles Carpenter eat nails?
I eat snails. Fingernails.
Pictures taken. Okay.
It's an experience, but probably the closest feeling to it is the takeoff of a nice strong jet, or maybe amplified a couple of times, a good strong roller coaster.
How many times do you have to shift the car?
We shift 3 times. It's a 4-speed transmission starting off in first gear, and then we make 3 gear changes down the racetrack.
Is the body of this car all fiberglass, or is there some metal in it?
It's all fiberglass, complete car, front to rear. The only 2 really stock items on it are the door handles and the tail lights.
Well, you have a beautiful car, and we appreciate you coming out to California.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. It's going to be hard to go home.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
We went to the Ron Harding camp to talk with the youngest 7-second shoebox driver in the country.
This is the driver.
Is that the driver?
This is the driver. 17 years old. Like I said, he graduated from high school last night, and I think that he's come up here to take it all. So.
Is this Ron Harding Jr.?
Ron Harding Jr., you bet.
Well, Ron, how's that car feel out there?
It feels pretty good.
What's your best elapsed time?
Don't tell him. High 70s. About 180.
180?
Yeah.
It's a nice looking car.
Appreciate it.
Ron Jr., what kind of elapsed times you looking for today?
About 750. I ought to get it.
Well, it's a big block Chevy, right?
It's a big block Chevy, right.
Are you running on nitrous oxide?
Nitrous oxide, right.
Well, that should get it down there.
We hope so.
Hope them parachutes are working.
Yeah, that'll work too.
Well, I noticed you do some nice smoky burnouts, Ron.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
On a 790 dial-in, both cars run identical 805 ETs. Jr. wins again over Dr. Brophy's Econo Dragster. At the next race, Ron Jr. makes an exhibition pass at Fremont Drag Strip. Fiberglass parts are put aside so the Harding crew can get the motor ready for the next pass. The Jackson Brothers cameras have been mounted, and Jamie Jackson starts the film rolling for a wild ride down the quarter mile.
Sinbad, 55 Chevrolet. Doyle Rice drove this car for over 23 years, since before his son was born. He considered it a part of his family. He loved to race his 55. His joy was behind the wheel, shifting gears and hitting the nitrous button. His family knew how he felt. But this time, something didn't feel right to him. For Doyle Rice, his car would never feel right again. He never imagined the last time he'd leave this car would be through the rear window.
I can't believe that son of a bitch is still together that good.
23 years of his life turned upside down.
Watch the rear end, the
Not this time.
Yes, his family knew how he felt. He was only hurt from the loss of his shoebox dream.
You want to take it to our house?
And for Sinbad, well, that was its last voyage.
Nitrous oxide. Laughing gas, but this is no laughing matter. A driver preparing to launch clears the lines, brings forth pure, liquid nitrous power, propelling him on the ride of his life. The best shoebox cars in the country today run on nitrous oxide. We talked with some of the top racers about this awesome substance.
Do the most exotic nitrous system for under $1,000, and for the amount of horsepower you can't make any power increases for that kind of money.
The nitrous oxide, how does that work?
This is our Fogger nitrous oxide system. What we generally do is set the timing back to around 28 degrees before we put the sonar gun on. And he's got a button on the steering wheel, and when he does, it mixes the nitrous oxide with the gasoline, and it explodes in those big old cylinders, and that gives us about 240 more horsepower than we normally have. Brings it up to probably 1,450 horses when he leaves the line. Incredible horsepower.
What kind of fuel do you run besides NOS?
We run C16, which is pro-stock fuel. It's about $7.50 a gallon, something like that.
$7.50 a gallon.
And you get a quarter mile to the 5 gallons here.
Nitrous oxide is an oxygen-bearing gas, and we take the oxygen out of it and mix it with the gasoline, and then we do not need to have the mixture that normally would come through the top of the carburetor, so we can add the additional horsepower with the nitrous. This Fogger nitrous system is very conservative. We only use about 1.5 pounds to maybe 2 pounds of nitrous on a pass, to where a normal plate system that a street guy would normally have, say on a tunnel ram, he could feasibly use 3 or 4 pounds of nitrous. It's very efficient is what the system is. We're gaining 100% out of it. It sells for about $3.50 a pound, and a bottle of nitrous is 10 pounds. So you're $8, $9 a pass for the nitrous oxide.
It's like anything else used with common sense. It really works great. It's the best horsepower you can put on the engine.
Blown door slammers, supercharged and ready for action.
Do you want some toilet paper now or later?
No, I got the Charmin extra roll. Oh yeah. Once I hit that grass, it was like driving on ice.
Thunderbird. Bill and Kirk Coon's fabulous T-Bird with a twist. This car runs a blown and injected big block Chevy motor, covering the quarter mile in 7 seconds at 180 miles an hour.
What's your name?
John Shelby.
What's the last name?
Shelby.
Well, tell us about the Wapadoo. What type of engine do you run in here?
Big block Chevrolet.
Yeah, we seen you up here last year, but you had the headers corked up.
Yeah, they took them back off then.
Yeah, I hope so. That'll get you down a little bit lower today, huh?
Yeah.
Now, you'll be running on alcohol too, right?
Right.
What kind of transmission?
4-speed Linko.
4-speed Linko? Well, good luck out there today.
Thank you.
Today's drag racing technology has been incorporated into many of the cars of yesterday. A prime example is this beautiful Ford Falcon of Thornhill Racing. Pro stock chassis and exotic engines make for a successful race car.
What kind of engine?
Big block Chevrolet, 482 inches.
What kind of VT and speed you looking for today?
We'll try to get it down in the low 8s possibly. Maybe look for some high 7s.
Beautiful car.
Thanks.
Yeah, that foam looks good.
Yeah. Hopefully it won't suck it up.
Who would have ever thought that a top fuel racer from the early days of drag racing would be driving a 57 Chevy AA fuel funny car in 1988. Let's reflect back now with Tom the Mongoose McEwen on his heyday in drag racing and what motivated him to race a 57 Chevrolet.
This is Tom the Mongoose McEwen, and we're talking about the history of myself in drag racing. Since about 1953 I started out and drove all the different kinds of cars in the country. Through the early days of drag racing, I drove Fiats and gas dragsters and fuel dragsters and stock cars and modified gas cars and so on. Drove for people like Gene Adams and Ed Donovan, Lou Baney. We won a lot of national events, set a lot of speed and ET records, had a lot of fun. Traveled over the countryside and all over the country touring the cars, dragsters, funny cars. I had one of the first funny cars in '65, the Hemi Cuda that we crashed. Since then we've progressed through different sponsorship programs, and in 1986 had a real good year and won 3 national events. We're runner-up at 2, and at that time we were sponsored by Coors Beer. Being I had Chevrolets in my early days, 55s, 56s, and 57s and stuff like that, and I'm a collector of early model Chevrolets, I thought it would be nice to build a 1957 funny car. So I got Steve Davis and Kenny Youngblood involved in the project. Dale Armstrong helped us a little bit with some ideas. We put his engine in my old car. We built a mold and a plug, and we've come up with probably the most unique funny car body in the history of the sport. We ran it at the World Finals at Pomona in end of October 1988, which you will see the one and only run that the car has made. You'll see it on this tape today when it sets the record for the world's fastest 57 Chevrolet with a time of 223 miles an hour with an elapsed time of 6:05 on a real easy first pass on the car. People like Pete Ward, Lance Irving, Tiki down at Davis's shop are involved with this thing, and Bill Loper, the fiberglass guy, and Kenny Youngblood, the art guy, and Steve Davis, and on and on. Lots of people. Sponsors like Dan Chuck helped me a lot on this car, and Jerry Moreland, and all those people around the country, and then my other sponsors that are involved with the car. So it's a nice project, and people seem to like it. Revell's going to make a model of the car in May of '89. We hope people like the car and look for it running at your favorite track around the United States.
Incredible. What else can we say? Don Renfro is alive and well today and was a witness to his own nightmare.
At Bayland's last drag race, Charles Carpenter stole the show with his fabulous burnouts and hard runs. In the process, he set a new world record for a 55 Shoebox Chevy. One of the final moments of Fremont Raceway lasted just 7 seconds. That's enough for a Shoebox dream.
Charlie Carpenter a big round of applause. They'll never leave this drag strip. Oh, I'll tell you, 7:09 with a 1 at 198.67 miles an hour. The 55 told the story. Chevrolet is number 1.
That was a drag race.
Who were the bad boys of drag racing? Why did they call them bad? Are there any bad boys around today? If they're so bad, why do so many people watch them? Bad Boy Altereds 1 and 2, now available on video cassette from the Jackson Brothers. The Gasser Wars, Stone, Woods, and Cook, Big John Masmanian, Junior Thompson, K.S. Pittman, just to mention a few. If you're a fan of the gas coupes of yesteryear and the nostalgia cars that still run today, then you have to get Gasser Files, 2 one-hour video cassettes from the Jackson Brothers filled with Willies, Anglias, and Austins smoking their way down the quarter mile. It's a must for any Gasser fan. The Jackson Brothers also offer t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and pins. They make great gifts. To order any Jackson Brothers video or apparel, call or write Jackson Brothers Videos, 2932 Burbank Drive, Fairfield, California, 94533, or call 707-426-3532. Visa and MasterCard welcome.